Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, June 28, 2021. Micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs, are now able to access $675 million in additional funding support from the government. A memorandum of agreement formalizing the program's implementation arrangements was signed last Thursday. The new 4.75% MSME loan program is being spearheaded by the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce through the Exim Bank in tandem with Jamaica National Small Business Loans Limited, JNSBL. Portfolio Minister Audley Shaw says the program will provide strategic business development support and affordable financing, particularly for entities adversely impacted by the economic fallout resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic.
This loan facility and the associated support services being unveiled today can only be accessed by registered businesses. Moving from informality to formality will allow informal operators in the sector to participate in these and other support facilities being offered by the agencies of this ministry and other government entities as well as the private sector and other organizations. I therefore urge informal businesses to move to become registered to take advantage of these opportunities.
Approximately $200 million to be managed by JNSBL has been programmed for micro businesses. These entities will be able to access between $500,000 and $5 million, repayable over 60 months at an annual interest rate of 4.75% with a one-year moratorium. Exim Bank will focus on small and medium-sized enterprises, which will be able to borrow between $5 and $25 million under similar terms. A cannabis industry development task force has been established to determine strategies critical to enhancing growth and development of the local cannabis industry. The task force, which held its first meeting last week, is appointed for an initial period of 2 years. It is chaired by State Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Norman Dunn. The body will focus on improvements to the legislative framework, business and institutional environment, product development, and public education. It is also charged with addressing capacity building, training, investment and export promotion, as well as economic inclusion of traditional and small-scale farmers and the protection of intellectual property rights. The House of Representatives has passed the Extradition Amendment Bill 2021 to state more clearly the types of evidence to be accepted in extradition proceedings. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck piloted the bill in the lower house. He says the changes will allow any parish court judge, regardless of their jurisdiction, to issue an arrest warrant for the purpose of committal. In addition, where a person is being sought for extradition, the bill will allow the admission of records of the evidence,
which will be in addition to the other forms of evidence already permitted under the Act. The bill defines record of the evidence of the case to include, among other things, documents or statements which describes the identity and probably location of the person sought, and statement of the facts of the case, including the time and location of the offense.
Minister Chuck says the amendments came out of concerns expressed by the U.S. State Department of difficulty in acquiring the affidavits of victims, particularly in cases of lotto scamming and fraud.
This is so because a number of the persons who were scammed are elderly, some suffering from Alzheimer, and although there's very good documentary evidence, the possibility of getting affidavit evidence from them have proven to be extremely difficult.
Based on this, he says, changes were made to admit certain other certified documents in extradition proceedings. The Justice Minister says the amendments will not interfere with the court's inherent power to request more evidence or to deny the request if the evidence presented is not deemed satisfactory or sufficient to accede to the extradition request. Cabinet has approved the establishment of a Street and Working Children Task Force to review and finalize a framework of action on the subject. Information Minister Favour Williams made the announcement during last week's post-cabinet press briefing. She says the multi-sectoral body will oversee the implementation of the Street and Working Children Framework of Action in a bid to cauterize and significantly reduce the prevalence of children living and working on the streets in Jamaica.
The purpose of the study is to determine factors that serve to predispose children to living and working on the streets, inclusive of trafficking victims that may be invisible, and to identify gaps in the provision of care and social protection services that could impede an effective response to addressing the street children.
Minister Williams says Cabinet also gave approval for the public release of the findings of the final report of a study on children living and working on the streets of Jamaica. The Child Protection and Family Services Agency and the Ministry of Education will use the results and recommendations from the study to inform policies and programming interventions relating to street children in Jamaica. And finally, Culture and Entertainment Minister Olivia Grange is urging entertainment industry practitioners and members of the public to strictly comply with protocols ahead of reopening of the sector.
You're going to have to observe the protocol. You're going to have to wear your mask. You're going to have to sanitize. You're going to have to keep your distance. And you're going to have to appreciate the fact that you have a personal responsibility and that our future is in your hands.
As of July 1, the government will lift the prohibition on entertainment events such as outdoor concerts, parties, round robins, festivals, community events, and corporate mixers, as well as handing over and groundbreaking ceremonies. Organizers of small events with a maximum of 100 people will be allowed to make applications for permits as they normally would through their local authorities. Organizers of large events with more than 100 people in attendance must begin their application process with the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. Event organizers should send applications or queries to mcges2021@gmail.com or call 876-565-7985. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.